On YouTube, and welcome back to my channel, JoJo Speaks. Thank you all so much for joining me for this being my review for the Real Housewives of Atlanta season 17 episode 3. A couple things I want y'all to do before we get started. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. Press that big white subscribe button. It is free and easy to do. Takes less than a second to mash that thing, so go ahead and mash it for a brother. Also, be sure to leave this video a thumbs up. Let me know you're enjoying the content I'm putting out on my channel. Be sure to leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this particular episode and the entire season though so far. What do you think of the first 3 episodes? Who are your favorite housewives? Who do you think doesn't belong? Let me know down in the comments. Also, be sure to press the notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. And last but not least, be sure to share JoJo Speaks with all your family, friends, and loved ones. Let everybody know JoJo Speaks is out here in these YouTube streets. So I'm going to break this review up into 4 parts. As you all know, with my reviews, I typically don't go over the entirety of the episode. I just want to talk about the things that stood out to me. So first, I want to address Shamia and her new rum business venture that she's going on. She said that she wants to call the rum something about her ass. I don't know. And the most interesting part about this storyline for Shamia is the fact that her husband doesn't seem to have much faith in the possibilities of her being successful with this particular business venture. You know, I don't dislike Shamia. It's just that she's not my favorite, and I don't necessarily feel as though she belongs on the show. Although she does have the money for, that a housewife should probably have to be on the show, but I don't know if she's necessarily interesting enough for the show. But anyways, I wanted to say I love the fact that her husband was like so quiet when she was asking him, well, what do you think about me going through this business venture? You know what I'm saying? I will say though that I am happy to see Shamia's husband on camera because I feel as though we only saw him maybe once or twice in season 7, in the last season, season 16. So I feel as though it is a good thing that he is at least willing to be filmed with Shamia. So I guess that's a good thing. But good luck to Shamia in her rum acquisition, if that's what you want to call it. I hope she does as well as she wants to. I don't know about her business acumen. I don't know if she's necessarily would be considered a businesswoman per se, but I'm hoping the best for Shamia. She's trying to find her own identity. She's trying to not be self-sufficient because her husband got all the money, but to be able to contribute to to her relationship, to the family, to the household, whatever the case may be. So shout out to Shamia for that. And I also have to say, I find it extremely interesting that I don't know if any of the other girls really like Shamia besides Kelly. And I have a feeling that's the reason why Kelly and Shamia have gotten so close, because I don't know if anyone really likes those 2 girls. And I also have to say before I move forward that I'm so happy we did not have to see Kelly or Phaedra this entire, well, I think we did see Phaedra, actually, never mind. Anyways, I thought it was interesting that we did not see Kelly this entire episode. But anyways, let's move on to Miss Pinky Cole. So Pinky is she's in the process of filing for bankruptcy, and this information actually came out before the premiere of this new season 17. So I did not think that we were actually going to be seeing that process get done actually on the show itself. So I was really surprised that she was meeting up with a lawyer, explaining the reason why she needs to file for bankruptcy. And she also said that she does not want to involve her husband in this decision making. She seemingly filed for, I don't know if on the show she actually filed for bankruptcy or if she was just preparing to file. I'm assuming she was just preparing to file for bankruptcy, but she says that, she feels as though her husband will probably want to jump right in to help her, to bail her out and all this good stuff. She doesn't want him to feel as though he is obligated to do any of that, which I do respect that. However, I must address what's going on with Pinky and her husband, because a lot of people have been sounding the alarm saying that he doesn't seem to be necessarily that supportive of her, saying that he humbled her with the fact that his businesses were going so well, whereas her businesses were not doing as well. For me, when I look at couples on TV or in movies, I look for chemistry. I look for at least camaraderie, friendship, loving to be around one another, loving each other's company, loving to, spend time with one another. And to me, Pinky and her husband don't seem like the lovey-dovey type of couple. They seem to be somewhat distant. I don't know if it's a marriage of convenience or what, but something doesn't seem natural with Pinky and her husband. It seems like more of a marriage for business. I don't know what the case is, but I am happy that Pinky is, being real on the show. I am happy that Pinky is bringing reality to the Real Housewives of Atlanta, and her reality is that she's about to go through bankruptcy. And I don't know. I'm assuming she must have known that before she signed on the dotted line to be on the show. But, at least she's got something real going on in her life for her storyline. And I appreciate that, as opposed to Giselle having zero storyline whatsoever, which is why she didn't have a package for the most recent reunion for the last season of Housewives of Potomac. But I don't know if Pinky necessarily fits in this group. I guess we'll see as the episodes go on and on. I do want to address really quickly Angela. Finding another house to flip. I hope that works out great for her. Angela was my favorite housewife last season. I'm pretty sure K. Michelle's going to be my favorite this season, but I do love Angela. And I hope that works out for her. And I'm so glad that her issues with this business venture of buying, flipping, and selling houses is not, or it doesn't seem to be having any type of impact on her marriage with Charles. I love that. But anyways, let's move on to our next topic of this particular episode 3 of season 17, which is Drew and Black. Drew and Black are meeting up. Drew has not put a label on her relationship with Black. She hasn't said that he's her boyfriend. She hasn't said that he's a friend with benefits. She hasn't said anything. She just calls him her friend. Okay. I love how, I think it was Angela who was in confessionals to say, girl, if you're dating him, just say you're dating him. I don't know if Drew's not saying that she's dating Black because she is still technically married, and maybe she doesn't want to be seen as someone who is dating outside of her marriage. I don't know what the case is. We did hear the news, though, that Drew has been ordered to vacate her marital home. So, kind of sucks for Drew, but Black is a really attractive man. When they were on their little date, it was really cute. You know what I'm saying? They definitely have chemistry for sure. And you can tell that they've been around each other for quite a while. And they definitely have chemistry. And it was really cute to see Drew on a date. It was really cute. And, Black was like, I'm not going to wait forever. And, when men make a decision, that decision is made. And there's typically no changing on that. So, it is what it is. I'm happy that Drew is getting herself back out there. I really wish we would have seen Ralph. I have a feeling we're not going to see him this season. But I just think he's a beautiful man. So I just love to see him on my screen. But anyways, I just wish that Drew would be truthful with what she's doing with Black. Because it was brought up at the end of last season that, they were doing something and Drew completely denied it. But now she's bringing him on this season and filming with him, which makes it seem as though what they alleged you did last year was true. So, there's that. Not the biggest fan of Drew. I think I've said this on reviews in the past. The only reason I would want Drew to stay on the show is because she's married to Ralph. But now that divorce is about to go through, then, I could take or leave Drew. But anyways, let's move on to the final portion of this particular review, which is addressing K. Michelle. When the episode ended last episode, episode 2 ended with K. Michelle in the hospital because she was having some issues with her injection at her injection site, where she got the elite, I don't know, she got the silicone injections. So I figured with us ending on her being in the hospital, we probably won't see K. Michelle in the next episode. I was wrong. K. Michelle was all over this episode. I think we saw K. Michelle the most out of all the girls in this episode, which I am very happy about. like I said before, K Michelle is probably going to be my favorite housewife of the season. I love the fact that she's so real. She's so real. The way that she was looking at the camera when Portia and Kelly were going back and forth in episode 2, about, them both cheating or sleeping with Mary Ben. You know what I'm saying? And K Michelle was like, what the F is going on here? And why am I here? You know what I'm saying? I love that K Michelle is so real. And my sister brought up the fact that it's because she's an OG. She does real reality TV, not this fake contrived, put together storyline bullshit. Like, K Michelle brings the real to reality TV. And I love seeing it for K Michelle. So K Michelle leaves the hospital. She's got her glam squad there. She's got, pretty and made up and all this good stuff. And she meet Cynthia, Portia, and I think Phaedra as well, at a spa. And, she was telling the ladies about the leakage that she was experiencing. And, she said that her clothes were all wet. And then Portia comes out of her mouth and says, oh, was it a miscarriage? K Michelle then proceeds to tell us that she had been in contact with Portia. She had been telling her what was going on with her. She had been, letting her know that she had been having issues with the, silicone injections. Unfortunately, K Michelle said that the silicone will never come out of her body, which is so sad. But, again, that's a part of her storyline. And I love the fact that, as I said in the last review, that she's making that a part of her storyline because it is truly what she is going through. But for Portia to ask K Michelle, was it a miscarriage? I'm so confused by that. Miscarriages are nothing that I personally would want anyone to ask someone else about. I feel as though miscarriage should be something that someone shares with you voluntarily. Because when you ask someone if you had a miscarriage in front of other people, you put that pressure on them to answer that question. And miscarriages are not something that we're just talking about all willy-nilly. So I don't know what got into Portia to make her feel as though it was okay for her to ask K Michelle if she had a miscarriage. So it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I've never heard of anyone on a Real Housewives show ask someone else if they had a miscarriage. Like, that's just, no one says that. No one asks that. No one does that. Like, what the F, Portia? That's so stupid to me. It's so stupid. And K Michelle told her what was going on. She told her exactly what happened with her. So it made no sense to me. Anyways, a little bit later on in the episode, Cynthia has a sit-down dinner, or luncheon with K Michelle and Pinky. And I love the fact that Pinky and K Michelle are sorors. They don't necessarily seem to be that close necessarily, but I do like that they have that in common, that they're part of the same sorority, Delta Sigma Theta, sorority incorporated. I love the fact that at this dinner, that K Michelle brought up what Portia said, and apparently K Michelle, went on Twitter and was throwing out names and talking about Portia in her tweets. K Michelle did a little bit of crashing out, which is understandable. I mean, if anyone brought that to the attention of my sister or another female that that I'm very close to, I'd be offended too. So K Michelle was calling Portia names in this tweet and things of that nature. And, they showed, confessionals of the ladies reading the tweets, trying to say whether they thought that K Michelle was talking about them or not. I also love the fact that K Michelle asked Cynthia about Phaedra. She's like, what does Phaedra do besides giggle and laugh all the time? Like, I'm so glad that K Michelle brought that up, because why is Phaedra still on this show? I do not understand. Like, I understand that she probably does give the best confessionals. I will give that to her, hands down. Also, she always brings it with the wigs and the looks. She always looks amazing. However, as far as like actual storyline, I truly doubt that we will get an actual storyline out of Phaedra on the 17th season of Real Housewives of Atlanta. I don't see it happening whatsoever. I really don't see it happening, but I don't know if Bravo loves Phaedra or if Bravo feels as though the fans love Phaedra. I don't know why Phaedra is here, but she's here, so whatever. We just have to deal with it. But anyways, then we end the episode with with Portia and K Michelle having a sit down, discussing the fact that Portia asked K Michelle if she if she had a miscarriage. And I love the fact that when Portia first sat down and K Michelle had started the conversation, Portia went right to her phone and K Michelle was like, okay, so are we talking or are you going to be on the phone the whole time? Because that's exactly what Portia did with her sit down with Shamia last season when they were discussing their friendship. And Portia was so disconnected from that conversation. And K Michelle was like, no, I'm right here. We right here. Like we gonna talk this thing on out. And, you know, Portia said that she doesn't remember K. Michelle telling her what she was going through. And that's the reason why she brought up the question of her having a miscarriage. And, you know, K. Michelle was just telling her, like, you don't do that, girl. Like, no, nobody does that. Of course, Portia does apologize, which I do appreciate. But when the season first started and I saw that K. Michelle and Portia are being seen as at least friendly, maybe not necessarily the best of friends, but they seem to be friendly at least. I was afraid that K. Michelle would find herself a little bit too close to Portia because we know Portia's on that bullshit. And I don't want K. Michelle to get caught up in that. And I'm so glad that K. Michelle sees everyone for who they are. And she calls it out. And I love that about K. Michelle. Once again, K. Michelle is the realest woman on this show. I love the fact that that K Michelle held Portia's feet to the fire. I love the fact that Portia did eventually apologize because that was just ridiculous what she did. But tell me, guys, what you guys think about the episode 3. Let me know what stood out to you guys. What are your thoughts on Portia asking K Michelle if she had a miscarriage? Let me know down in the comments. Join me every Thursday night at 8 p.m. for my live Hot Topics and Social Commentary show. I go live every Thursday night at 8 p.m. with my sister Prophetic Fire Reiki, as well as our friend Bianca Edwards. We always have an amazing time talking about the latest happenings and goings on in the world. So join us every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.